Hello YouTube, this is Matthew Williams. I'm just bringing a little video to you to talk about the fake fur industry and how it's somewhat of a lie, and you can get caught out by this quite easily. I've been following the fake fur story because I actually like my furry hats. So anyone who knows me usually knows me out at night like that. So yeah, and I usually lose about 2 or 3 of these a year. I think they're probably stolen by circle making lovers or something that managed to sort of sneak up behind me and steal them. But yeah, you know, the trouble is when you buy stuff like this, you've actually got to be very careful and make sure the dealers are categorically sure that it's fake fur they're selling you, because there's a massive industry at the moment in selling fake fur as real fur. And the trouble is that unless you actually know what you're looking at, you could well have real fur as supplied with badges on it saying it's fake fur. Now, the reason that suppliers are able to get away with this is because what they're doing is they're saying things like fake dog fur. Yeah? So you say like, well, it's fake dog fur, which means it's not really dog fur. But what they're doing is they're using semantics. It's not fake dog fur, it's fake raccoon dog fur. So it's not a dog, but it is a raccoon. So, you know, they're basically, you know, getting around it that way. You see? And the trouble is, what you've got to be really careful of is that most of this stuff comes from China. Like this, you know. Most of this stuff comes from China. So anything that comes from China, you've got to be really careful about, because China, excuse my language, China are a bunch of fucking retarded cunts when it comes to looking after animals and animals' health. And that's, you know, perhaps I should say that, you know, sort of retarded anus jockeys as well, just so that I don't offend the women out there by the use of that language. But, you know, you don't really need real fur anymore because the benefits are minimal. I mean, in terms of heat, this is really, I think, as warm as real fur. Now, some people might argue the toss on that one because they live in Arctic climates and maybe they do need something that is a few degrees hotter than this. But, you know, certainly in most climates, this would be a good hat, you know, and no problems at all. And highly fashionable. And if you look up really close at the type of fur, I mean, fake fur is really quite good. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, the way you can often tell fake fur, and this is just to kind of give you an example, is have a look at the ends here. If you have a look at the ends, you can usually see that fake fur doesn't go to a point, and real fur will. So if you imagine, this is fake fur, and it comes up and it goes to a flat end, and real fur will go to a very tapered end, and it'll taper down. So that's one way to tell. An immediate test as well is shine and feel. So I mean, if you rub your hand on fake fur, it usually feels a bit sort of flat and scratchy, and it's not shiny, and your hand kind of drags along it. Now, real fur shines, and when you rub your hand on real fur, it'll basically glide across it. When you put it on your face, real fur is extremely soft. Yeah, so pull it around on your face. If you're aware that they might be putting fake fragrances, you can usually smell the plasticky smell of polyesters and nylons, and they'll retain their smell even though you wash them. Okay, another way that is being touted at the moment, you've got to be very careful about this, is to take a screwdriver or something that's got a little bit of a blunt edge like that, and to try and poke it through the fur. So what you've got to do is you've got to get like a flap, and you've got to pull it apart into 2 bits so that it's got the upper half and the lower half. Okay, and then you've got to grab it, you've got to try and poke it through. Now, they're telling people to do this, right, because they say if it pokes through, it's probably polyester. If it doesn't poke through, it's probably not. It's probably real. Now, I couldn't poke that through there, but I guarantee you this is polyester. Now, there's a better way that I've devised. I don't know, they're not telling people about this, but there's a better way that I've worked out. What you do is you pull the fur back, you pull it right back, and you get a torch or something, and you have a look in very close, and if you can see that it's on like a hairnet, a webbed net, then it's fake fur, because it's actually polyester that's been wrapped into a machine process. Now, on this type, you can actually see it for real. So let me see if I can get you a piece. There you go. That's perfect, yeah. So basically, if you pull it back, now on the other one it's black, so it's very hard to see, but on this one you'll actually see it. Let me focus this in. Okay, there you go. You can actually see the webbing. Can you see it in there? That's the webbing. So, now if you get a pen, I would imagine if you get a pen, you could probably push a pen through there, but not a screwdriver. Now some people are saying, try and push a screwdriver. Yeah, that ain't going to work. But if you can push a... See, it's not easy, so I wouldn't take that test. I think that test is not good. I think visual test is the best, you know, if you want to make sure. And again, you see, made in China, made in China. And you've got to be so careful of this stuff that's made in China. Now, why? Now, I'll tell you why you've got to be careful. Because a lot of clothing at the moment is saying that it's got fake fur on it. And there is a massive industry, an absolutely humongous industry in real fur being maybe bleached and coloured, dyed, and then sent out as fake fur. Now there's a massive industry in this because China has been for many years set up in killing animals for their real fur. Now they've got a glut of this stuff because people in the West don't want it. So they've had to turn to very clever and deceptive techniques in order to, you know, move on this fur. So they're doing things now where they're dyeing the fur and they're passing it off as, you know, fake fur. Now a dyed fur, again, might like the polyester, actually feel like as if it's not real fur, you know, because it's got that sort of feel. You've got to be very careful with this stuff. So look down to the actual material and make sure. Now, anybody who doesn't want to hear the graphic details of why they shouldn't be using real fur, I would say turn off now. Basically, I've seen a lot of the videos of Chinese markets where they have dogs and cats, and these are like wild caught. You know, they're sort of feral cats and feral dogs, and they'll also catch people's pets, and they'll stick them in cages. Now, this is where you want to turn off if you don't want the graphic details. But I've seen some absolutely horrific videos of pets. Now, we're not just talking raccoons and minks and rabbits, but we're talking about Alsatians, Malamutes, husky dogs, you know, Labradors, in cages that are no bigger than the actual dog. They're actually squeezed in there, and that's where they live. And they keep them in the cages like that. They might be in there for weeks, months, or even years. And when they kill them, they don't do it humanely. They do not even club them across the head, which would be kind of humane, you know, knock the brain out. They're not going to feel any pain, then they would be dead. That would be nice. That would be nice. But what these motherfuckers from China do is they string the animal up by its neck on a piece of cat wire. And they string the animal up on its neck until it chokes to death. And that's the preferred way of killing the animals. Now, they do this for food and they do it for fur. Now, the reason they do it for food, which is pretty fucking sick, is because they believe that when the animal is struggling as it's choking, and they want it to choke over a long period of time, okay, but when the animal is actually choking, they think that the adrenaline rushing through its body as it tries to free itself because it's choking and dying, that makes the meat taste better. So I tell you what, personally, I think if somebody wanted to go, you know, with a fucking machine gun and just kill all these fucking Nazis in China, because that's what they are. I mean, I'm sorry. These people, if they don't understand the difference between right and fucking wrong when it comes to animal cruelty, then I think they should have some of that cruelty enacted upon themselves. And I've thought this for a very long time, but there you go. I mean, societal rules don't actually allow for that, but there we go. Yeah, pretty bad stuff going on out there. It's not a very nice world. I will say as well, I've seen videos of animals that have had their fur ripped off them whilst they're still alive. They don't even hang them up on a hook or hang them up on a a choke wire. They actually just hold the animal down, drag a knife along it, pull its fur off, and rip the fur off the animal whilst it's still alive. And the video footage I've seen is of animals crawling around on the floor, you know, trying to drag themselves around, just bleeding to death with no skin on them. Now, how bad is that? Now, I'm sorry to have been so graphic, but this is the reason why you need to check out whether what you're buying is fake fur. Now, the bad companies who are actually selling real fur at the moment, I found Littlewoods in the UK, Littlewoods are selling real fur. Where does that fur come from? Where do you think? The cheapest place possible. China. It's going to be China. Yeah? It's not. There ain't no thing as organic fur. There ain't no thing as humanely caught fur. The only thing that really works in the fur industry is cheap fur. Yeah, cheap, high-quality fur. That's what works. Now, Littlewoods are selling this at the moment, so boycott Littlewoods. Tommy Hilfiger was selling, and Calvin Klein were selling fur recently. So, you know, you want to question why these companies would want to be doing this and why they'd want to be buying fur in from these countries. You know, it's pretty fucking sick. It's not bad enough to use slave labour in these countries to produce stuff at, you know, extremely low cost at the expense of jobs in, you know, America and the UK. But now to actually be just importing the most horrendously produced fur with no humane attempts at all, this is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And I mean, if there was to be an allowable fur trade in this world, it should be regulated, and it should be in this country, in the UK, and the animals should be kept well on organic farms and then killed in humane methods. That's the only fur industry that could possibly or remotely even be allowed. So, sorry to have been graphic, but yeah, check your fake fur. Check your stuff, and if the store is selling real fur marked up as fake fur, take that stuff to the counter and throw it at the manager and say, fuck this stuff and you fuck off, and then go back in that shop and actually make sure that that stuff is not on the shelves, because it breaks the Trade Description Act if they're selling the real stuff as fake. So check it out. If you go and see the trim on something, just have a look, and if you find that stuff is real, take it to the counter, take it to the manager and say, I want this stuff off the shelves now because I'm ringing the trade description officer and I've taken a photo. Take a photo of it, yeah, because they'll try and deny that you ever came there, yeah, and just report that shit to the trade description people because it's wrong. So, thanks for watching.